But I've read some other officials of INEC who are talking about the capacity, the logistics. If you're going to distribute before, maybe a couple of days before election, that there may be a logistic nightmare. Is that it? Can INEC actually handle that while also preparing for the general elections?
We've taken that into consideration. Quite a number of those we use now will be in the office to work on election days, because about 95% of our staff that we use on election days are non-INEC staff. Those are the ones who are going to deploy for the election proper. But for distribution, for now, we use mainly our staff and just a few non-INEC staff. I think we can cope.
Okay. You just talked about how you're planning to achieve about 80 to 85% collection, and how you're wreck in Lagos. Lagos is usually a transit point. You're talking about 4 years, to transition from when people had their TVCs to now that they're collecting their PVCs, and a lot of people have moved. People, even within Lagos, people who used to stay in one area maybe have moved to another area. So voting will definitely be a challenge for them. They might have to go back to the area where they registered to be able to vote. Is this something that is going to change eventually, or is it something that INEC is going to make permanent?
Permanent. No, it will change eventually. The card will eventually be, quote unquote, permanent, as it ought to have been by now. But we are still a developing country. We don't really, let's be open about this. We don't have all the funds to commit to get there right from the beginning. You can only grow step by step. Before we were using the temporary voters cards, now it's the permanent voters cards with a chip inside. In addition, we also have the smart card readers. We know that by 2019, it should be possible, if all arrangements are able to be fulfilled, it should be possible for us to be able to put in place that permanent voters card that can be used practically anywhere in the country. So even if you had moved from where you were registered originally, maybe by 2019 it should be possible for you to vote anywhere.
So in 2019,
we are looking at that.
If we were to do electronic voting, INEC would be ready.
Electronic voting is another thing. It has to be empowered by law.
Yeah, if that happens.
Well, if the National Assembly says we should go ahead, we don't have a choice.
Okay.
People are already beginning to cite instances, sorry to interrupt you, but people are beginning to cite instances of where people are asking for their cards. I mean, they're buying cards, and people are saying, how is this going to be used? How is this going to be useful? Some people say, well, since you have a card, you have a card reader. Usually, if your card reader has been used, automatically it might be taken that you've been able to vote. What exactly do you think people are up to when they're trying to buy cards? If that story is to be taken with a pinch of salt.
That is it. I've read in papers that people have been buying cards. I've not really seen anyone who's been caught doing that. But then, our own stand in INEC is that even if anybody buys a card, it will not be useful on election day. The smart card reader has certain features, certain benefits that will deter another person from using somebody else's card. First of all, when you insert your card, it will authenticate. That is, it should recognize whether it's an INEC card or a cloned one. The smart card reader has that facility. That's one. Two, it will now go ahead to identify, to verify whether the owner of the card is actually the person bearing it. And how does it do this? You put your thumb on a particular point on the smart card reader. And the moment you do that, it will bring out all your features, all the things we've recorded, your photograph, your name, and other biodata. If it's not yours, the moment you put your thumb there, it won't throw this up. And therefore, you can't use it. So you cannot use somebody else's card, one. Two, the smart card reader is configured to a particular polling unit. So you cannot vote here, even if it's yours, vote here and go to another polling unit to use it again.
Even if you steal the smart card reader and took it to another polling unit,
it won't work on that day. It's been so configured to work in a particular polling unit. So it cannot be used in two places. You cannot vote in more than one place. So maybe our people, are yet to come to that understanding. They still live in the past, thinking that what they used to do, buy volumes of cards and give their supporters an election day. We've been telling them it won't work this time.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, when they used the temporary voter cards, all INEC checked at that time was they look at the card and look at the person and see if you're the same person with the card. But now you do more than that. That'll take a little more time for each person than you did in 2011.
We don't anticipate that there will be a delay. First of all, that has also been factored into it. 2011, we spent 4 hours doing accreditation between 8 in the morning and 12 noon. But this year, it will be between 8 in the morning and 1 p.m. So if you're going to take any extra time, maybe an hour more. But then it will be a more authentic process, a more valid process that will not allow the integrity of the electoral process to be undermined.
Well, Babatola wants you to clarify for him. He said he's been to where he was supposed to pick up his card. That is in a place called Sonia Grammar School in Surulere. And when he got there, he's been there twice, and he's not been able to get, no, he said 3 times now, and he's not been able to collect this, that the rec should please clear this.
Well, he didn't state why he wasn't able to collect his card. Possibly his card is one of those still coming. Those probably registered in 2014, and if he did, then maybe from next year he'll be able to collect his card. Maybe.
Is that the same thing for, because this person also did theirs in 2014, and it says in some parts of Oshodi Brown Streets, they were asked to re-register as the 2011 register was corrupted. Well, they did that before December 2014. When are they going to collect theirs?
From next week. From next week, same thing.
Okay.
So the cards for the re-registration process will also be ready?
From next week.
Is INEC sure of that?
I said we took receipts at 12 midnight yesterday.
Just yesterday.
Of 5 vehicle loads of carts.
Is that the 600 you were reported to be expecting? That's separate.
We're together, the 600. Early this week, we took receipts of about 300,000 carts, in fact 289,000. And now about 5 vehicle loads have arrived.
I think
so. It's a mix of
Lagosians really will be excited about this. I want us to go through this collection process again.
Okay.
Because it still looks hazy to me. You talked about 20 local government in Lagos. Is it the local government area, or they do, they always have annex, these local governments. So where exactly are they supposed to go pick up their cards?
You're right, that's a good question, because yesterday morning somebody called me. No, he had called me earlier and I said he should go to Agege local government. And he went there yesterday. He said he got there at 8, there was no one. 8:30, he called me back. 8:45, he kept on calling me. I said, by 9, I said, then I sent a text to the officer in charge there. I said, they've been there before 8. I now called him. I said, where exactly are you? He said, Agege local government. I said, no. Go ask for INEC office in Agege local government. Really, our offices are within, most of them are within Agege, within the local government office. But apparently this man must have gone to maybe the main local government office. So you are right, we need to make that clarification. And we assume that if you get to local government office, you should really ask, please, where is INEC office? About 30 minutes later, I sent a text that he's collected his card.
Okay.
Is there a stipulated time that the INEC officials need to resume to begin this distribution?
Yes, 8:30 in the morning and close about 5:30.
Okay, because I see people saying that INEC officials resume at will at several units.
If it's weekends, it's about 11 a.m.
Okay, weekdays 8:30.
Yeah, 8:30.
Now, also looking at, this card readers, I don't know, but a lot of people will be skeptical. Especially now that you're saying that the card readers have been configured to each polling unit. So if, for instance, I go to a polling unit and my card reader or the card reader from the polling unit is not working, what happens?
Well, we factor that into our preparations as well, because our study revealed that there is about 2% margin of fault, margin of not working well with the card reader. So what we did was to provide additional ones. We have about 20% backup that we are ready to deploy to the field on election day. We only need to get a call from the polling unit to the supervisor, and when we get the call configuring doesn't take more than 2 minutes. It's done, and then we deploy to the field. In extreme cases where you could not get to the field in time, we signed an agreement with political parties December 16 last year. In very rare cases, and it took place also, it happened in Ghana, that we may have to delay the continue the vote on that day till the next day. But that's in very rare cases. We don't expect that maybe in Lagos it will be more than in 1 or 2 places.
What about those who lost their temporary voters' cards? How can they pick up the PVC?
Loss of temporary voters' cards does not affect anybody from collecting. Just come forward. We have a form, attestation form. You feel that you've lost this. Once you see your photograph, if it's your permanent voter's card, because of a photograph that should show that you are the owner, then you thumbprint the form, you sign it.